Hi, I'm Shannon with Modern Traditional Quilts, and I'm coming with you with another block today. We're going to be doing the Star block with the 9-patch Charm Square Sampler Quilt along. And I'm pretty excited. We are getting towards the end of finishing our blocks. There's only 2 more blocks after this one, so made a lot of really good progress. Just to remind you the plan, this is our quilt diagram. Today we're actually doing the center block of our quilt, so the highlight piece or the focal piece. If we look at this test sample that was sewn previously and you look in the middle, that center block is really going to catch your eye. And because it's going to catch your eye, I decided to be really careful with my color placement, and I decided that I was going to make mine in navy blue. And using navy blue is the strongest color in the Charm Square package that I was using. And so I thought I'd show you how that looked. So I really wanted this to stand out a lot. So I actually used the same Charm Square for both of these. And if you put them next to each other, they're going to create a diamond. And the same thing here, a diamond here, a diamond here, a diamond here. So it will appear that this star is spinning and paddling with one another. Some people call that a pinwheel or a pinwheel star. And so we're just going to see how that looks. And we're going to do a pinwheel star later because it actually changes the outside corners. And so this is just generally a star quilt, but since it's the center of our quilt, or kind of our focal point, I really wanted it to have a special center. So one thing you want to do is lay out your star block. I realize I have a typo on the screen. It says ribbon block. That's a typo. It should say star block. Star block. You want to squint at your colors and look for a half square triangle placement. You want to make sure that you have colors that really pop, and the way that you do that is by squinting. So we've kind of talked about this little eye trick in the past, but if you want to use it again for this block, you totally can. I would use it if I were using scraps and not making sure that they were matched the way I chose to. So we're going to follow traditional piecing techniques with this one. We're going to sew column 1, column 2, column 3, then column 4 as we do this. The thing about this one that's going to be a little bit different, we're going to do a spinning center. This is a new trick, a new technique that I haven't shown you yet. That's going to be super important. If you ever do a Lone Star quilt or any of those, you're going to need to know how to spin the center of your block. And so spinning the center of the block is probably the major technique and the biggest thing that we're going to learn in this block today. So I'm just going to start. I'm going to go ahead and layer 1 onto layer 2 and sew those columns. So same thing, we're just going to do column piecing. So I'm going to take layer 2 without flipping any, layer it onto column 1. And I'm going to make sure that these are correct. And just to double check a couple of things, you'll probably want to make sure that you pin them before going to your machine. Make sure you know which is, I like to think of my pin head as the up. And so my pin head is up, then I know that this is the correct orientation of my blocks. I'm going to go to my machine and sew this column all the way down. Okay, so I've sewn that first seam, and what I wanted to show you is I did not cut this thread in between each one of these. It's chain pieced, and the reason is that I'm going to use that as a pin marking for the next steps when we go horizontally. But for now I want to finish my column piecing, so I'm going to go ahead and finger press this open. I've got column 1 here, column 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Check it with my diagram. It looks great. So now I'm going to take column 3, lay it on top of column 2, match those edges really carefully. So this seam all the way down. I'm going to really pay careful attention right here because this is going to come in the center of our quilt, and you're going to see we're getting a lot of bulk here, and there's a trick that you can use to reducing bulk, and I'll show you that to you in a little bit. I've already alluded to it, but it's a really important trick. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this. Alright, so if you look, we've sewn all of our columns, and now we have left to do is all of our crosswise rows. Now before we do that, we want to make sure that we actually press our seams. If you look, we have some seams that are really bulky, especially in the center. And so we're going to want to make sure that when we go to the ironing board, all the seams are going opposite directions, especially through this center. All right, I'm gonna push one seam to the left and then the opposite row to the right. So if we were to take our block and flip it over, which is how this would look on the ironing board, you're going to see that we want our seams to go opposite. So I've got a dark blue arrow, all those seams are going to the left. Light blue arrow, all the seams are going to the right. And then an orange arrow, everything's going to the left. You want to make sure that they're all going opposite so that they nest with one another. And then I'll show you the next trick on how to get the center to really lie flat. Okay, so I'm going to start with the center. We look, there's a whole bunch of seams right there. So we want to make sure using our X marks the spot trick to align those and push them in opposite directions. You're still going to be going through about 8 layers of fabric right there. So if we use our X marks the spot, we can make it so we're going to go through 4 and 4, but it's still going to make like a little ridge in our quilt. So after I sew this block, I will show the trick to get that ridge to lie flat. All right, so my center is done. You can finger press that open. And so you get getting excited. Look how pretty that is. Now I'm going to go ahead and go the top side down. I'm going to sew the seam, same thing. When we've got 2 points here on the side of our stars, we want to make sure that we nest. When we've done that row and the bottom row, I'll show you our next step to getting that center point to lay completely flat. All right, so let's take it to the ironing board and go ahead and get it to iron flat. One of the tricks that when we do that is we're going to be working from the back side. We are going to get this center match to spin. And so we're going to do that by taking a little scissor clip, maybe an 1/8 of an inch. We're going to lay it flat down on the ground or on your board, and then you're going to spin it like this. Let me angle that camera a little bit better. I'm going to show you and actually walk it through it, and then I'll show you some slides in it. You're going to take just a little nip, just a tiny, tiny, tiny one. Don't get your threads. Put your finger on it, and then spin. When you do that, that bulk spreads itself out like a fan. Pretty cool little trick a neighbor showed me years ago, and I think is really awesome. So just a reminder, when you're doing those horizontal rows, make sure you use an X marks the spot so you don't blunt something. And then what we're going to do, and here's a close-up photo of me doing it on another block, you want to take your scissors and do a tiny little nick, maybe an 1/8 of an inch down. Take your finger, put it on the center. You use your thumb, use your index finger, and then you're going to take that block and you're going to spin it. Okay? It's going to spread out like a fan. Maybe 1/4 degree, 90 degrees is all you need. And then now you're going to have all those seams span out in the direction that you spun them, and it's going to lay flat inside the center of your quilt. And now you can go ahead and press the rest of those seams in your block. If you remember to spin the seams and use your X marks the spot, you can get sharp points the exact center. This is how they get sharp points the exact center of all those Lone Star quilts. And so it's a super, super useful trick when you are looking at any kind of pin block or pinwheel block or anything where you've got a whole bunch of seams in the middle. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this project today. Our block is done, and I will see you next time. Only 2 more blocks left. Thanks for watching.